the studies of humans and how they change and what gets them to change has been extensively done over the past several decades. And one man in particular, and many stand out, but one man named Dr. Stan Goldberg, he particularly lays out 4 key elements over 30 years of research on studying how human behavior changes and what actually gets humans to make a change in their life, a shift in their life, to change a behavior, to change something about them. And these 4 points, inshallah ta'ala, I'd like to address them, but using a case study of one of the most magnificent stories of change in our history, our Islamic history, the story of Umar radiallahu anhu. Let me discuss the 4 points first, then I'll go through the story, then we'll analyze the 4 points. The 4 points that he notes, and a lot of literature notes, to making a shift in a behavior in a life, a change in behavior. The 4 steps are: first, purpose; the second, perspective; the third, action; and the 4th, mentors. Umar radiallahu anhu, the story of the great noble leader that we know as Umar al-Faruq, didn't begin so noble and great. He was a man that was, as he would tell us, radiallahu anhu, he would say that he was a man indulged in sin before Islam. He was between the age of his mid-20s to early 30s when the Prophet ﷺ came to Mecca and started to preach the message of Islam. And Umar was someone that was used to do and indulge in many sins like drinking and other things. He was a man that noted to himself and told us that he used to create idols with his own hands and worship them. And so this man, when the message was heard by him, he was one of its staunch enemies. He used to go around with the Prophet ﷺ slandering and lying right to his face as he would talk to people. He was an enemy of the message and mission of Muhammad ﷺ. But of course a shift happened, a change happened. And that change began with an interesting story in Al-Musnad that Umar, he said, one day I went out to get drunk with my friends and I couldn't find any of my friends around. So I decided to go to the Kaaba and I saw the Prophet ﷺ praying at night. And the Prophet ﷺ, you know, Umar was so busy always attacking and being an enemy of the Prophet ﷺ that he hadn't actually got to a point where he wanted to actually hear what he was saying. So he said, I hid under the cloak of the Kaaba. And I started to listen to the Prophet ﷺ as he was just sitting there praying his qiyam. And so he went to go look at he went to go hear what the Prophet ﷺ had to say. And so he was reciting from Surah Al-Haqqah. And the Prophet ﷺ got to the end where Allah Azza wa Jalla says, فَلَا أُقْسِمُ بِمَا تُبْصِرُونَ وَمَا لَا تُبْصِرُونَ. I swear to you, by the things that you see and are apparent, and the things that you don't see, إِنَّهُ لَقَوْلُ رَسُولٍ كَرِيمٍ. These words are the words of an amazing noble prophet. So Umar says to himself, he's the one saying the story, he said, I said to myself, these are the most amazing words I've ever heard. How can a human come and put those kind of words together? He must be a poet. What an amazing poet this Muhammad is. This is what Umar is saying. And so the Prophet ﷺ doesn't know Umar is there. He's just reciting the surah, and the surah is speaking to Umar because the next verse is وَمَا هُوَ بِقَوْلِ شَاعِرٍ. These are not the words of a poet. قَلِيلًا مَا تُؤْمِنُونَ. How little do you believe? How little do you have faith? So Umar, it's as if somebody was like, he's thinking and somebody's talking to him. So Umar said, then I thought, oh my God, he's listening to my mind. He's a kahin, he's like a sorcerer, a soothsayer. So the next verse, وَمَا هُوَ بِقَوْلِ كَاهِنٍ. These are not the words of a soothsayer. He's not a sorcerer. قَلِيلًا مَا تَذَكَّرُونَ. How little do you remember? So Umar heard this engagement with the Quran, and of course sometimes, you know, when somebody, Umar said, at that moment, وَقَعَ الْإِسْلَامِ فِي قَلْبِي. Like Islam, I began to love it. But when he went home, it wasn't so easy for him to change. You know, the emotion of change sometimes causes us distress, like angst. You know, it's difficult, it's hard on our soul and our mind and our spirit. So Umar went home and he had all of these angers and emotions, and then of course, we know the next day, We know the story when he leaves his house with his sword and he's going to kill the Prophet ﷺ. And one of the companions, he sees Umar on his way and he says, Ya ibn al-Khattab, where are you going? So he tells him, and he says, why are you going to kill Muhammad when your sister Fatima bint al-Khattab, may Allah be pleased with her, she was Muslim at the time. He said, why don't you go take care of your family first? So Umar goes to the house of Fatima, and again he's angry. He's already boiling on the inside. He doesn't know what's going on. And of course he breaks or walks in on his sister and her husband. He hits his sister. He kind of like destroys the house. And he thinks for a second and a moment, and he says, let me hear what you guys are reading. Just took a second for him to just calm down. And let me listen to what you guys are reading. So he hears, of course, the words, طه ما أنزلنا عليك القرآن لتشقى. Oh Umar, as if Allah is speaking directly to Umar, we did not reveal this Quran so that you can be full of distress. Umar anhu, he gets up, he goes to Dar al-Arqam, he's walking to the house of the Prophet ﷺ. Imagine, Umar has his sword. He's an enemy of the Prophet ﷺ. He's going to the house of the Prophet ﷺ. He said out loud in public, I'm going to kill Muhammad. And he's on his way. And the companions, they say, Ya Rasulullah, Umar is coming. And he tells them, open the door, let him in. Let him in. I will talk to him. And Hamza says, Ya Rasulullah, if he wants something evil, I'll kill him with his own sword. I got it. So Umar walks in. The Prophet ﷺ grabs Umar. And he says, Ya ibn al-Khattab, when will you change these actions? When will you change? And Umar radiallahu anhu embraces Islam right there. And of course, the happiness of Dar al-Arqam, the joy that spread as Umar became Muslim, the great Umar, the great leader of Quraysh, the noble ambassador that was they're one of their elite leaders. It accepts the message of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And of course, Umar and the Muslims, for the first time, they go out in public right after that, and they pray to show their strength. Umar radiallahu anhu is an amazing story. It's an amazing case of a shift in behavior, a magnificent change. How can someone that can be an enemy of Islam become one of the greatest Muslims in Islamic history or human history? How can someone shift in a way where they were someone that was so vile, they were so wicked in their ways, but they changed tremendously. Those laws are the same laws that we know about humans. They actually haven't changed. The first of them, what research tells us, is that there has to be a purpose that's found in the behavior that wants to be changed. Purpose. The first letter, the first word, purpose. And so Umar, what fell into his heart was at that moment that he found a greater meaning to life. He found a greater meaning for who he was as a person and what his calling was. And subhanAllah, research tells us even with the worst addicts, drug addicts, alcoholic addicts, other behaviors that people are doing, what research and therapy tell us is that you try to find a greater purpose within the person for the change that they want to see. You have to create a new purpose. And subhanAllah, that is the reason why Islam in general, Islam is a way of living. One of its main focuses is to create purpose. يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ لِيُبَيِّنَ لَكُمْ. Like the entire reason why the Creator sends creation revelation is that so there is purpose, so there is clarity, so that there's meaning to life. So it's not just every day, why am I waking up today? Why do I have to go to work? Why do I have to go to school? Why do I have to deal with people? Why do I have to deal with my family? Why? All these why questions? Well, creating an answer to the why is a powerful way in creating change. A clear answer to the why, creating a vision, a purpose, a meaning to why you want to change this behavior is super important. Maybe we can go from this big picture of Islam and life to a small behavior in our life. Research says it is much more powerful when someone wants to change something about their health, their own health. Research says that when a doctor gives a diagnosis to a patient, it's not as powerful in getting that human, that person, to change their health habits than when they find a greater purpose in why to change their bad health habits. For example, they feel that they're unable to play with their children. The shift of meaning went from a doctor telling you something and it doesn't work. But when you find a deeper purpose in why you want to make the change, it's much more impactful in actually making that change. Find a deeper purpose, a deeper reason why you want to make a change. Whatever that behavior is, and you should ideally maybe pick and start with one behavior in your relationships, in your health, in your spirituality, whatever it might be. The laws apply very general, but find deeper purpose. Find deeper meaning. Number one, Umar, the Quran spoke to his purpose. The message of Muhammad ﷺ gave him a greater vision of who he was and where is life and where are we going. And as a matter of fact, if we just, distilled or boiled Islam down to some basic principles, one of them would be to give humans purpose. Where are you going in life? How are you getting there? How does that bring meaning to your life? That is a powerful message of bringing change. Number two, research says that then you have to, purpose is great, having a strong why is great, having a strong belief is great, but then you have to shift perspective. Perspective means about thinking about the problem differently. Umar radiallahu anhu, he was fighting Islam so much because the perspective was Muhammad ﷺ is here attacking our religions, our forefathers, and dividing our community. But when he went and decided to listen, just to listen, just to hear the different side, just to hear a new answer, a new way of thinking, when he did that, radiallahu anhu, he found that the answers were powerful. Many, many times when we want to change a behavior, you want to change something in your life, you keep doing and thinking, more importantly, thinking the same way about the problem as you've always thought about it. It really didn't change. And as Einstein, he always, famous quote of many people I'm sure, that if you continue to if you have a problem and you continue to address it the same way, then you really never solve it. We always accept sometimes the mainstream thought process on a problem with our kids, with our health, with our masjid, with our spiritual, it's always the mainstream thought process. And so we never get to hear a new perspective on things. Having a different perspective. SubhanAllah, the mind is very powerful because, the Prophet said something powerful about the mind. He said, Al-aqla la aqla kat-tadabbur. There is no true wisdom, like use of the mind, until the mind goes to a deeper level of consciousness. In brain science, we call that higher order thinking. If you're always reacting, you're using the inner part of your brain, what we know as the amygdala. But if you really want to think about things at a higher level, you use your prefrontal cortex to problem solve. The actual brain is better used when you are able to think deeply and more critically about things. That's why, subhanAllah, we always learn about things like mindfulness practice. Salah is one of the most, and how mindfulness enhances your mindset, your ability to think more clearly. SubhanAllah, Salah is it's infused in our deen, that prayer, 5 times a day, no matter whether you like it or not, you have to be able to step into another level of consciousness. Like use your brain at another capacity. That's the reason why it's there. Sometimes we don't. We're worried about all the other things. But if you were to create that practice, it actually gives you a better perspective in finding answers. Perspective, a new solution. Maybe hearing it from a counselor, or a natural herbist, or hearing about perspectives from a different philosophy in parenting than what we're used to, or a different philosophy of health than what we're used to. Thinking outside the box for new answers is extremely powerful. And getting yourself humble enough to sit and listen to that perspective is a part of the challenge. Umar radiallahu anhu, he went and listened to the Prophet ﷺ, and that listening made a tremendous impact on who he became. Inshallah ta'ala, second part of the khutbah, I'll finish the last 2 steps in how to create a sustained steps, or create the steps towards a sustained change in one's life. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه إنه الغفور الرحيم. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, salatu salam ala rasulullah, nashhadu an la ilaha illallah, nashhadu anna Muhammad rasulullah, wa salli wa sallam wa barik ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam tasliman kathira. The steps of change. In a new year, hopefully as the year winds down and you're reflecting on the past and inspiring and hoping for the life that Allah Azza wa Jalla has given us, the opportunities, the days, the weeks, the months that are coming, how can I change one thing, one shift in my life that can bring me a positive attitude, a positive new beginning in my life? One element, one attribute, one behavior. And again, the laws are all the same, and we're using the story of Umar for these laws. The first is finding purpose, greater meaning in why you want to create that change. Number two is finding new perspectives, hearing new sides, new answers that can really solve this problem for you. Whatever it might be, by the way. It could be an addiction. It could be family issues. It could be a crisis with your child or your son or your daughter. It could be an issue you have at work or in your business or your finances. We always need to sometimes break out of the noise and find a new answer. Find a new perspective. Shift your mind. Number three, research tells us that then you have to take action. Action is super important. Umar, he had a greater belief. He had greater purpose. He found the meaning. And he was willing to listen. He was humble enough to listen to a new answer. But how many, Abu Jahl, who was also in the dua of the Prophet ﷺ, who used to also go listen to the Quran, who also used to believe that this is not normal, these are not words of a man. Abu Jahl and Umar were both in the dua that the Prophet ﷺ made. One of them took action and became one of the greatest humans ever. The other did not. And he decided to continue to fight Islam the rest of his life. Action actually then separates between a person's inner thoughts and beliefs and what they actually do in life. Allah Azza wa Jalla never says الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا without وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ. They are intertwined, because belief without a behavior that's manifested is just nice thoughts, nice intention, cool. But it doesn't actually save you if you don't execute on it. Do it. So you have to take action. Umar went and took action right away. He went right to the Prophet's house and he sat right in front of him. And he accepted. He took action. Action is super important. We can talk about that. But the action is super important in doing that. But there has to be a consequence of action that sometimes we don't give when good action is taken. That there is good emotion associated with that action. Sometimes, you go to work and you work really hard on a project and you gave everything, you were sleepless and you really gave it a lot of effort. And then it turned out that it didn't work so well. The manager above you decided to scrap it. And he told you, yeah, good work, thank you. The action was powerful, but the emotion associated to the action caused you, the next time a project was given, or the next time something was done, you would not do it the same way. Just that little word. I'll give you another example with my young daughter. There is times when my daughter, if she's holding a bowl of cereal in the living room and it crashes on the floor, if I ran to her and I'm angry, what happened? What's going on? And she says, she's looking, the bowl is broken and this milk is everywhere. And I'm angry and I'm saying, what's going on? And if she says the truth, she's being honest. She says, I did it and I was angry. She would understand that telling the truth gives me a negative emotion. I shouldn't do it. But if I associated a good emotion, thank you for telling me, happy, some kind of positive emotion with the action, she told the truth, she broke the bowl. But do I care about the bowl? Or do I care about the values that my daughter is instilling by being honest? I have to decide at that point. Action requires a positive reinforcement, or else it's not repeated. We as parents, murabbin, elders, sometimes a good action is taken. We don't give it the same positive message as when a bad action is taken, how negative we show the emotion. When something's bad, we have no problem getting angry. We have no problem turning red, yelling, screaming, showing our children, whoever it might be, person in the middle. We have no problem telling them, what you did is wrong, and showing a negative emotion. But when a good action is done, we don't show the same level of positive emotion. And so that reduces the action being repeated. Why is that important? Basic psychology says that if you want an action to be repeated constantly that's positive, it has to be given positive emotion. It has to be linked to positive emotion. And so Umar, he didn't just accept Islam and everybody's skeptical. Everybody showed positive emotion. Everybody showed happiness. Everybody showed joy. There was an atmosphere that this is a great, amazing thing. And the Prophet ﷺ was always keen, always, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when somebody does something good, that he praised and showed positive emotion. With our children, with our spouses, with people in our families, when something is good, if you want it to be done again, you have to show positive emotion. You have to show happiness. You have to show a positive enthusiasm so that it's repeated. Extremely important. And last but not least, as we conclude, is that there has to be a mentor, a guide, a figure that continues to continue that emotion, those thoughts, that purpose, those actions to be continually done. A figure. You know, research says that, I know we always talk about the environment, that's super true, but what we know in psychology sometimes that even one figure, a mentor, a parent, an uncle, a grandpa, one figure that is a positive influence, a coach, a therapist, one person can be a positive influence in that change continuing. One person, not necessarily all your friends or all the, sometimes just one person. You know, Jeff Bezos, for example, the richest man on earth, he says he went through a lot of mental health issues over the last couple of decades as he's growing Amazon, we all know. So he attributed coaching over the past couple of decades as being one of the major reasons for his success. Continually also, you know, in therapy, in the depth of AA, you know, Alcoholics Anonymous, at the end of the step, the last step of the 12 steps, this therapy program for alcoholic addicts, is that they get a mentor to take somebody under their wing. So I stopped drinking, but now it's my job to find somebody that is drinking so that I help them. One mentor. The Prophet ﷺ, of course, for Umar, was a tremendous mentor. لَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ. Like the Prophet was the best mentor. And the Prophet ﷺ, it's nice, everybody, you know, always when somebody takes the shahada, takbir, everybody's happy, lots of joy, but then everybody leaves. Well, if you want the person to continue, you actually just need one person that's a mentor. Somebody that's designated to take that person under their wing. It doesn't matter what age you are, by the way. It doesn't matter how old or young. If you have mentors, somebody in your life that you can hear or talk to, whatever the problem is in business, in relationship, whatever it might be, you pick the behavior and you find somebody that can aid you through it. These are the powerful steps to change. You know, I want to close with another story of amazing change. It has these 4 steps as well. The story of the man, to emphasize on the 4 points again. The man that killed 99 people, hadith in Bukhari. Man that killed 99 people, he found something in his life that he wanted to change. Like he found greater purpose and meaning to life than killing people. So he wanted to hear, number 2, a new perspective. Somebody give me an answer, please. Would Allah accept me if I killed 99 people? Am I good? Like if I made tawbah, am I good? So he went to a man. He was humble enough to go to somebody and ask. So he goes to the person and he asks, of course. And the hadith says, abid. He was a worshiper. The man told him, look, I killed 99 people. Can God forgive me? Ar-Rahman, ala al-arshi istawa. Like Allah is the most merciful. The abid told him, no. Allah, you killed 99 people? No, you're going to hell. Allah would never forgive you. He had purpose. He went and asked for a new answer, new perspective, but negative reinforcement. So the man killed him and made it 100. But you know, he was still humble enough. You know, it's a story. It's an insane story if you think about it. If we saw somebody that killed 100 people, we would think, the world, what would we think of this person? So the man was humble enough, purpose. He wanted to find meaning. He wanted, again, humble enough to go and find a better answer. And he went to an alim. So the alim told him, yes, of course, positive reinforcement, Positive. He gave him a positive message, positive words. It changed his life. He said, of course, Allah can forgive you. But something's going on where these people around you, these role models around you, they're causing you to kill. So you need to leave. And when he left, of course we know the story, he decided to leave. He made the intention, and Allah Azza wa Jalla eventually had the angels of mercy take his soul when he died on the way. But the elements are the same. Find a greater purpose, meaning for the behavior you want to change. Pick a behavior and find a meaning for why you want to change it. Number two, get new answers, new perspectives. If it's a behavior that you've had for a long time, you need maybe a fresh voice to give you a different perspective on the problem, to give you better solutions. Number three, you have to take action. And when you take action, make sure that there's positive reinforcement for the action. Make sure that, if you're a family member and somebody did something good, went to the gym, don't tell them, you're still obese. No, positive reinforcement. And add positive emotions to the behavior. But last but not least, continually find a mentor, a guide, someone that can help you in your life, that can continue to help you grow and flourish in that change, in that behavior. Change is not 180 degrees. Sometimes it's just a small shift. Just a small shift. And that creates impactful long-term benefit for you in your life. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal to bring us a healthy, positive change in our life. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal to forgive us of our sins and our shortcomings and our mistakes. We ask Him Jalla fi Ula to allow us to always find a greater purpose and meaning in our life, to find a greater purpose and meaning through Him, for Him, Jalla fi Ula. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal to allow us to have the humility of finding answers, of seeking knowledge and guidance from others. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal to always show us and bring us the truth and that which benefits us, and to allow us to stay away from things that are harmful from us. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal to allow us to be people of action, to be people that enforce and bring good through that action. And last but not least, we ask Allah Azza wa Jal to bring us good people around us that can always guide us, and to eventually allow us to meet our great leader and mentor and role model, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the ultimate mentor and guide that we can have in this life and in the next. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal to elevate all of our difficulties and all of our distress, and we ask Him Jalla fi'ala to reward us with the highest levels of paradise. Ameen. Allahumma ameen. Inna Allah ya'mur bil adli wal ihsan wa ita'i dhil qurba wa yanha 'anil fahsha'i wal munkari wal baghi ya'idukum la'allakum tadhakkarun. Udhkuru Allah yadhkurkum wa ashkuruhu wa la takfuruhu wa aqimis salat.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. أشهد أن محمد رسول الله. حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح. قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
Istaqim, Rahmakumullah. Feet to feet, brothers and sisters, shoulder to shoulder. If you guys can close the gaps. Istaqim, Rahmakumullah. Allahu Akbar.